Thank you very much for joining in on the Word Traction podcast, the daily. And we're going to be, the title of the podcast is Larry David. And I wish I could promise you as engaging and delightful a guest. But Larry David, Larry Ellison and David Ellison. Larry is going to be the subject of the podcast. Most notably because he announced that Oracle was laying off in the neighborhood of 30,000 employees, most of them with immediate effect. I shared that in the stream earlier today, including the email that these nice ladies and gentlemen were greeted with at the start of their business day today, saying something very Ellison-like, just looking at our vision, our business forecasts, etc. Get the fuck out. Close to that. It was maybe it was a little bit more fulsome than that, but that was the effect. And of course, this is not we didn't wake up this morning and learn that AI was not fake news, that there's going to be a great deal of disruption. And much of that, Oracle, for those of you, everybody knows about Oracle in the way that they know about Microsoft, IBM, Meta, or, the component parts of Meta, Amazon. It's Oracle's one of the big dogs, and Larry Ellison is the founder. He's the guy that goes back 40 plus years more. Where Larry is, I think Larry Ellison's 82, and reportedly still involved on a day-to-day basis, and faculties fully in full effect. So God bless, except that he's impacting all of our lives in ways that I would not characterize as always positive. But so substantial layoffs. This will be happening with other companies, particularly Oracle, enterprise solutions. And now in 2026, I think 75% is just cloud general. And then they have some legacy bits and pieces. But it's a magnificently profitable operation. It has made Larry Ellison, depending on who's doing the counting, one of the third, the fourth, the fifth, or the sixth richest man in the world. There was one of the lists at some point in 2025 had him as number one. And, number one in our hearts is always Vladimir Putin, and Elon's in that club too, in the stratospheric $500 billion club. And Larry Ellison is probably a mere 250 billion, $250 billion. And the way that he came up New York. I think he was in the city. His mom illness. He went to live with an auntie in Chicago. Was purportedly a fantastic student. Started the med school path and was a STEM kind of guy. Went out to Cali and got into computers, tech, and like everything that everybody was doing at that time when, age-wise, Bill Gates and all of the other contemporaries, Case and the other big guys. He interestingly, the name of the company, Oracle. He was working on a project with a smaller company before he founded Oracle for the CIA, and the project itself that became a software platform was called Oracle, and he chose that name for his company when he founded it in the, I guess it was probably 77 or 8 or something when he founded the company. And again, magnificently successful. Interestingly, Ellison he is a staunch Trump supporter and conservative causes. He was a staunch Bill Clinton supporter, and for some period of time or throughout Bill's tenure, and the trying to figure out where did the transition, when did he go to the dark side? He would probably say that he was suspicious. He is also a staunch um, Larry and David, Jewish, staunch supporters of Israel, and that he probably felt that Obama's support for Israel was less than George Bush before him, and so Ellison's shift to the right in American politics, that probably coincided with what he thought was Obama's, I would consider, more pragmatic approach to Israel, and he also Bibi Netanyahu, who has been in power forever in various capacities. Ellison is personal friends with Bibi. In fact, at one point, Ellison offered Bibi a seat on the board at Oracle. So you can figure out the political alignment is far further to the right than where he started, and the Democratic Party certainly misses his money because he writes big checks. He writes big checks to candidates in Israel and big checks to conservative causes here. He supported Marco Rubio. He supported Mitt Romney, and other PACs. But he wrote checks. He writes checks that have nine digits to the left of the decimal point. Very as much as is legally whatever's allowed by law, he's going to go right up to the limit, and he's been doing that since he was supporting Clinton on the other side. And we look at them. They're two individual men, the father and son, but Larry's the boss, and as David, Paramount, doing the Warner deal now, the CBS bringing in Bari Weiss, who she herself a far right stance as far as Israeli politics and more generally, but Bari Weiss is a champion of the Netanyahu wing of the party, super far to the right, very conservative, and Bari Weiss makes no apologies for that, and it's part of her thing. So the alignment between Bari Weiss at CBS, David Ellison, and Dad is they're supporting Trump without without apparent reservation, and Netanyahu also. The deal with we talked about this a little bit yesterday, and then maybe the day before, um, hand in hand with the nexus of activity from China, control of TikTok, and also we talked about fentanyl, which there's a connection, but only in a more global sense, and the risks that China can bring to bear against the United States by controlling the taps of the fentanyl. I have no information that says that Larry Ellison is personally involved in the drug trade. I'm kind of being facetious, but that's not part of the suggestion. He has everything to do with control of American, U.S. version of TikTok. Um, and as we talked about before, as I wrote about months ago, and again we spoke about yesterday, is that the structure that was set up and purportedly to protect the US user data and keep that segregated and secure so the Chinese Communist Party could not access that. That's a complete fallacy. There is every company in China, every company in China, big, small, US companies operating in China, US banks, European banks, other Asian countries. China has access, whether you want to call it root access, admin access. There's another cute term that is like invoking God. It's not God protocol, but it's something close to that. That a whistleblower um, related to TikTok used euphemistically, uh, but it's a known thing. People like to downplay it because it messes with one of our words of the day from 3 days ago, 4 days ago, which was agency. People hate being told that this is outside of your control. Particularly you think about big time players like um, Ellison, Donald Trump. I mean, we can joke about the fact that he does buffoonish things, but he is the president of the United States until replaced or removed. Influential guy. We see that every day now in the Gulf. The Nasdaq is up about three. Last time I looked, was up about 3.5% today. Markets way up, and the Brent crude kind of, I think it was up 1.5% or something earlier today. So it's kind of in that maybe the 105 range, because there were news reports, not all of which I made fun of in the feed, but that Trump says he now has the administration has trusted counterparties in the Iranian government, and things are moving along, and Pete Hegseth is saying Pete Hegseth things, but that they're hopeful that ongoing discussions can lead to a cessation of hostilities, but then and of course the insider trading activity that flows from that will cooler heads prevail. Both countries, if you look at the list of demands, they don't line up. The our demand that all of the nuclear material is removed, and their their wish list that includes no U.S. Air Force or other military bases anywhere in the Middle East. Obviously, neither of those things may happen. They won't happen immediately. The process by which we could get the nuclear material out of Iran and confirm that it wasn't chopped up into 27 different lead boxes and scattered to the wind. Hopefully not to the wind, but hidden in various places around a very large country of 90 odd million people. You know, do we know essentially the starting point? You know, how many grams of or how many kilograms of this fissionable nuclear material do they have? Yeah, I mean, between the CIA, the Mossad, we have a pretty good idea. But again, if I don't know if you were being bombed every single day and Donald Trump was threatening to do whatever he threatens to do, you would be if that is your strongest bargaining chip, you would probably do well to hide it until such time as there is a negotiation and you get something in return. There, the Iranians were they reaffirmed the importance of the straits, of the Strait of Hormuz, of the Red Sea. They reaffirmed that. Nobody was in doubt, but there hasn't been a test case. So everything was sort of academic. Every military planning scenario planning exercise said they can hold the world hostage by controlling the flow of oil tankers in the strait. Academic. But we got the reality and we saw it in the market, and that's what we've been living now for over a month. That needs to be solved. The real risk is that people are not perhaps taking into account the amount of damage that's been done, and that various experts, a lot of people have opinions, just like other parts of anatomy, that could it take up to a year from a petroleum distillates and natural gas perspective, all of the damage that's been done, as we talked about a number of times. Once you cap a well, you don't just wake up the next morning and you're back to 100%. That can be a problem. And the natural gas and all the other parts, the fertilizer, what's in transit, what gets spoiled, what gets blown up, which happens in a war, and the tankers positioned properly to expedite a return to normal service. All those things. U.S. warships. We have the Gerald R. Ford is getting tune-ups in the Baltics. We have $1 billion a day of your money being set on fire. I mean, if you're in favor of the operation, and there are, as we've talked about, there are good arguments to eliminating the threat of a regime that is a state sponsor of terrorism. Third grade stuff right there. Right? They said they threatened to hurt Americans and threatened to hurt Israelis, and have done both of those things over the years. Salman Rushdie. They are people. They are ideologically driven, and some would say fanatical. Is there a chance of getting to a leadership that can just be, as Donald Trump is, self-interested. Like, we can make a lot of money with oil. Can we work with our citizenry and become, the Persian Empire, Iran, otherwise, has tremendous promise. Obviously, it's a society that's been around for millennia. They have a wonderful university system. A lot of things are broken, as Donald Trump is breaking a lot of things here, but it is not beyond reclamation, both there and here. So will the Iranian people be given the chance to do that? That remains to be seen. And then the tension between what are the U.S. goals versus what are the goals of Israel. They obviously have there's more immediacy when you're talking about Israel, because it's proximity and a track record and hostile terrorist activity on their border or within their borders. Add to that an unreliable and fascistic leader like Bibi Netanyahu, also a problem. Bibi's 80 as well, or in that ballpark. All these old men making these decisions, and two of them, Trump. The Supreme Court, of course, gave him protection, like a double up. I was trying to say what's the opposite of a black max, whatever. A Tiny Tim, a double Tiny Tim protection, and Netanyahu wants an unconditional pardon, but he's a power hungry guy. That's part of the MO. To be the leader of a country like Israel or the United States, a complex economy with Netanyahu with warring factions on every side. You need a tiny bit of egomaniac, and then you want it balanced out by, you want to be able to flick the switch to be to show humility too, and humanity, and that's I would imagine a pretty hard balance beam to walk across when you have all these competing tensions and interests pulling at you. Not making no, I'm not making any excuses for Trump or Netanyahu. They've both done horrible things, and they'll eventually have to answer for it, either in this life or some other one. But back to Larry. The tremendous power running. I'm just worried. I don't give a fuck about Oracle, really. I don't care too much about what David's doing, except for the damage to the creative arts, the movie making and all of, movie making, very important for California, but it employs a lot of people. And as we learned with the, 30,000 jobs whacked today, and that's just Oracle, that I would wish that we had a progressive administration in place that could work with communities, work with professions, work with regions, work with state governments to put together programs to help people transition. Right now, Donald Trump, there's a website, and in fact, they have an app where you can, text your number, and there's I forget what it's called, but it's something like Make America AI, something like that. What is it? It provides elementary school level descriptions of what AI is and a couple suggestions of what it can be, but it doesn't go much further than that. What we need is a state federal government partnership with programs that retrain workers to meet the challenges of the new age, and that's not happening now. That's not Donald Trump's fault alone. He ain't doing shit, but certainly the Biden administration could have done much more. And you could argue, it's certainly the first Trump administration. This has been coming. It's here and it's running. It's driving all over our lawn. So it's going to be a painful go. So, in any case, I just want to highlight Larry David. Keep an eye on the son, because eventually there will be a transition. Now, because Larry has two children, the David and a daughter whose name might be Annie, but not certain. She's in the movie production biz. She did her company, which I will also blank on, but it doesn't matter, I believe they were the executive producers of the film where Scarlett Johansson was the bot, right? That one, didn't see it. That's not casting dispersions, but some movies. David Ellison, to try to say something nice before I end the podcast, his production company, responsible for, in reverse chronological order, Top Gun 2, real movie, and a number of the other Tom Cruise franchises, Mission Impossible whatever subtitle, Mission Impossible 4, 3, 2, and then some others. So, real movies with real box office impact. And you would hope that means that he has somewhere in his heart, his brain, his soul, or otherwise, a love for the industry. That means that he doesn't just want to push a button and have AI generated entertainment for the rest of time, however short the rest of time may end up being. Might be a good subject for a movie. Has it been done? Is it a Cormac McCarthy book? Could be. Good. So Ellison's, Larry, David, pleasure. Wishing you a good day. I had my four-legged assassin was, I'm up a level up from where he is, and he's not happy with that. So if you heard any of the whining in the background, that is not disgruntled fans, but just a friend looking for a little attention. So yeah, so enjoy, and we'll check in with you sometime tomorrow. Whatever sort of restack, retweet, subtweet, share, subscribe, phone a friend, all that. So thank you. Have a great day.